friends, welcome back to my channel. So if you're like me, you love Bret Easton Ellis. Okay, Bret Easton Ellis is my favorite author if you're new here. And I've run into this little problem where I finished all of Bret's books and then didn't know where to go from there. Because I think his writing style is so unique, the tone and the emotion that he captures with his writing is something that I haven't seen before from any other author. So if you're like me, you might be searching where to go from here other than rereading all of his books. Today I have the solution for you. I'm going to give you a bunch of book recommendations that kind of have a similar vibe to Bret Easton Ellis. So I have the solution for you. I don't have the solution for myself though, because I of course read all of these books and I still don't know where to go from here. I have some options. I'm looking into things, okay? So maybe I'll do a part 2 to this video. I don't know, but I've been requested to do this video multiple times, so that's what we're doing today. If you're unaware, the vibe and the tone that these books capture will be nihilistic, cold, detached, kind of like numb emotions. Some of them are bleak and disturbing. Some of them are satirical, maybe a little funny. So I'm gonna kind of go through each book and explain why I think it fits that similar Bret style. And as always, a link to my Patreon is in the description box down below, along with my Amazon storefront with a lot of the books that I've loved. So if you want to shop through those links, I do make a small amount of commission to help support my channel. But otherwise, let's get into the books. Okay, so I'm going to start with the book that is the most similar to Bret Easton Ellis. Like, you have to read this book if you love him, because it's like, you just have to. It is The Delivery Man by Joe McInerney Jr. Okay, so in this book here, we are following a guy named Chase. I believe his name is Chase, but don't quote me on that. But he is living in Las Vegas. He's kind of in this like complicated long distance relationship with this woman, and he's also in love with his friend from childhood named Marissa. And Marissa runs this like sketchy call girl business, this like teenage call girl business, and he's kind of like her accomplice. Like, since he loves her, he watches out for her, makes sure that she's okay. He drives her places. We learn about him, his childhood, his relationship with this woman named Marissa, and it's just very bleak, depressing, sad. And it captures that Bret Easton Ellis sort of emptiness, kids that grew up too fast and burned out sort of lifestyle. The writing is super, 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 super similar to Bret's books, so this is an absolute must. Like, if you read any of the books on this list, make it this one. This was a 5-star perfect read for me, okay? Next, I wanted to talk about an author who is just super similar in general, and that is Jay McInerney. First is Story of My Life. This is a book about a woman named Allison. She's in college. She hangs out with like all her friends that are out doing drugs and partying, and she's navigating like all these shitty relationships and situationships, and it's very laugh out loud funny. Like, I was tabbing things that I just found hilarious. So I appreciated this book for the comedy aspect. There is a slight like sadness to it because you can tell that she didn't choose this lifestyle. It's just that everyone around her is super shitty, like her parents and her friends, like just everyone in this book is shitty. And again, like, Bret Easton Ellis writes such unlikable characters, and this one definitely features that, but it has that like nihilistic, nothing matters, let's go out and do drugs and party sort of vibe. And then the next book that I absolutely loved, I just read this last month, it is Bright Lights Big City. So this one here is about a guy who is addicted to cocaine, and we're just kind of following his day-to-day life. We learn about his grief and his failed marriage and his shitty job, and you're literally just following a man through the day-to-day struggle. It captures this like 1980s New York vibe, you know, the drug party scene, but it's so deeply sad and human. This book really captures what it's like to be human and go through tragedy after tragedy, and when life feels like it's beating you down on a daily basis to the point where you're like, you know what, fuck it, let's just go out and party and do coke. That is this book. I love this book. I love the vibe. This one is super, super, super similar. You will love this book. Okay, then let's talk about, I have 2 books here from Chandler Morrison. I could recommend all of them, honestly. His earlier books literally were ripping off Bret Easton Ellis, and he will admit that. So I do have like an older book here to show you, and that is Hate to Feel. This is about a guy who is very similar to Patrick Bateman, okay? A little too similar maybe. He is navigating this relationship with a woman that he works with who is having an affair and cheating on her husband, and it's just how love sucks. And it's about shitty, toxic, failed relationships, and is super violent. Like it really dives into the violent aspects of American Psycho, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it was really no surprise why I loved this book so much. I think I read this like 2 years ago, so I don't like 100% remember it, but I will say there is a reason that I gave this book 5 stars and absolutely loved it, and I think it's because it was so similar to American Psycho in a way, in its own way. It's like American Psycho, but about love. Then I'm going to recommend his newest book, because this is like, he really developed his own style, okay? And this one was probably the most well-written out of all of his books, but like I said, you can literally pick up any of them and it's going to give you that same satirical, just like numbness, nihilism, and for that reason, I'm going to recommend this one. So in this book, it's another book about love, okay? But we are navigating a bunch of characters. LA's burning to the ground. They're all looking for love in the wrong places. And some of them are over the top, like very satirical. There's a lot of funny moments in this book, but there's a lot of sadness and hopelessness in this book, and like I said, really captures that like nihilistic numbness and explores these different characters as they navigate life. I love this book. I love exploring shitty, toxic people and relationships. Like, I ate this book up. Next, let's talk about The Queen. Okay, The Queen is Joan Didion. I have Play It As It Lays here. This is a book about 1960s California. We're following this movie star. She's in a relationship with this popular director, I think. And it's really just following a woman's mental breakdown. But this book really is written in a way where things aren't overly explained. It's very detached and gives this like overall feeling of numbness and melancholy. I don't know how else to explain this book. It's like the most glamorous breakdown you'll ever imagine, because all these terrible things happen to this woman, but it's written in this detached sort of way, and that's why I am recommending this one. It gave me like Less Than Zero vibes. Just that drifting through life, cold, detached numbness. I can't wait to reread this book. I've been wanting to reread this for a few months now. And then a book that has a similar vibe to that one is The Sun Also Rises by Hemingway, where this is post-war. We're following a guy who was injured in the war. He's in love with this woman. They can't be together because of his impotence following this war injury. And so we're kind of just following him and his friends drifting through life, going on vacations, and trying to basically fill a void within themselves. It's another one that's written in a very detached manner. A lot of people don't like it for that reason. I liked it for that reason. It's one that it's not going to overly explain things. You kind of have to piece together what's going on because they are characters that don't talk about their feelings with each other. They bottle things up and then they let's go on vacation to Spain. And it's obvious they're trying to cover up their trauma, but yeah, I really enjoyed this one for that same cold, detached reason. Next, another queen, in my opinion, is Ottessa Moshfegh. I have My Year of Rest and Relaxation here. This is probably the most similar to Bret, and this one is about a woman who is depressed. She's a terrible, shitty person, and I love it, okay? And she's depressed, and she decides that she's going to sleep for an entire year. She's going to have her friends come over, feed her pills, so she could sleep throughout the year, okay? Relatable. And this is just another book about a shitty, unlikable main character, but you can't help but be like, oh my god, she's just like me for real. Because this book is so deeply human and relatable and, yeah, really shows what it's like to be depressed and you want to sleep for an entire year. I loved this book so much. And this is another one that I would love to reread. And then another one that I'm going to recommend is Eileen. This is about a woman who lives with her father. She's kind of like her father's caretaker. She's a really shitty life. Again, a very terrible, unlikable main character, but you can't help but feel something because it is deeply human and relatable in a way. But she becomes like obsessed with this new woman at work and goes into a downward spiral over her obsession with this woman. And she like ends up committing a crime, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I enjoyed this one. It is a little slow, but again, I think if you're trying to read something that captures that just like bleak, sad nihilism but feels relatable in a way, I think you would enjoy this one. I don't know. I really, really love her writing. No, I think she is brilliant and I will be taking no slander for our queen Ottessa, okay? Let's talk about Donna Tartt, another queen, okay? This is The Secret History. This is like dark academia. If you don't know, it's about a boy who goes to this like prestige, he gets accepted into this like prestige college and he gets a chance to study like the classics with this like weird mysterious professor who only accepts like 5 students into his class, right? And they learn about Greek and Latin and blah, blah, blah. And so he gets accepted there and he's like the only kind of like middle class guy. Everyone else is wealthy. And so we're kind of just learning about these other wealthy students through the eyes of our main character. And what's interesting is like page 1, one of them is murdered. And then the other students in the classroom, including our main character, they were all accomplices. They murdered this other student. So then we kind of go backwards and we learn about all of them and the events leading up to the murder, why it happened, what happened, blah, blah, blah. I freaking loved this book because the writing is stunning, okay? The characterization's amazing. The quotes, amazing. I mean, look at how much I freaking tabbed. I was trying to figure out what was going on. I was so invested into the psyche of our main character and why this happened and what happened. There is a deep layer of sadness in this book where I almost cried at the end. I'm not even kidding. The epilogue almost made me cry. This book just explores like alienation and moral decay. And I think if you are looking for a Bret Easton Ellis vibe, that you would really enjoy this book. Next, let's talk about Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. This is a book that is strictly just like all character development, very little plot. It's about a woman who takes photos of unconventionally attractive men and displays them in her art gallery. That's it. That's the book. But the book is focusing on her relationships with these men, how she met them, kind of just the inside scoop of her relationships and friendships. And the reason that people compare this book to American Psycho is because there is this aspect of it where she's kind of like spiraling into madness, and I can see how that aspect of the book is similar to American Psycho. That's why I'm recommending it. But this is just another book where parts of it are really funny, like parts of it made me laugh out loud, and then parts of it are deeply sad. It's another book that just feels very sad and empty at times, and there was one part of the book that almost made me cry. There's another one that I just thought was very deeply human and relatable, and I think if you like Bret's books, you should give this one a try at least, because it is similar to, like, it's like Bret mixed with Ottessa in a way. I would almost classify this as. You just have to experience the characters in this one. Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. I think Chuck Palahniuk gets compared to Bret Easton Ellis a lot, and I don't know if I necessarily feel that way. I think his satire is probably similar. This is probably the most similar book to Bret's that I could recommend, and it is Fight Club. If you don't know what Fight Club is about, it's about a guy who kind of becomes like obsessed with another guy who runs this fight club. They like box in his basement. That's all that I can really say about this book. If you don't know the twist, you probably live under a rock. But yeah, I do think his satire and like the point and meaning behind the satire in his books are very Bret-like. But I think most of his books are just way too rambly and out there for me personally. I'm not the biggest Chuck Palahniuk fan, but there are a few that I'm really, really obsessed with. I'm having an issue with the lighting today because of the sun coming up, and now I just had to close my blinds. Okay, anyways, let's talk about The Stranger by Albert Camus, a classic, okay? A man is an absurdist, so he believes that life is meaningless and we just have to roll with it, whatever it throws at us. His mom just died. He goes out and shoots a man on the beach, okay? And we're following this like courtroom trial and how they're focusing on his attitude because he's very like, yeah, my mom died today or maybe yesterday. I don't know. Like, he's very empty. And that's the reason that I'm recommending this book. It's very empty and hopeless and nihilistic, but it's showing how society treats this man for having different views and having a different reaction than everyone else. And just that emptiness and that nihilistic feeling that this book gave me, especially the ending. The ending was perfection for me. Yeah, that's why I have to recommend this one. Like, I have to recommend Albert Camus. It makes sense, okay? This book is perfect to me and I love it very much. Rejection by Tony Tulathimutte, my favorite book that I read in 2025. This is a new release from last year, I believe. This is full satire. It's a short story collection, but they're all loosely interconnected. So we're following these different people. It's like millennial internet culture, internet slang, and we're following a bunch of virtue signalers online pretty much. And it's showing how sensitive these people are and how they fear rejection, and everything is about them. Like, a tragedy happens and suddenly it's like all about me, and it just shows how this virtue signaling online ends up being more harmful, even though these people think that they're holier than thou and doing all these great things to make themselves appear like better people. They're actually pieces of shit. And that's the point that this book was trying to make. I fucking ate this shit up, okay? I love this book so, so much. and it's one that you have to just roll with. Like, a lot of the stories are very funny and they kind of get more serious as the book goes on. There is a very long story that is very serious and makes you think, and this book will take you a long time to read. Even though it's less than 300 pages, it will take you a while because it's very thought-provoking, but a very, very fun, enlightening experience, I think. And then my last recommendation is an author, and that is J.G. Ballard. So his books aren't, I don't think his books are that similar to Bret's, but just the tone that he writes. So he writes more like dystopian sort of books, a little bit of like sci-fi, a lot of books about technology and the future. So I wouldn't say like his plots or his characters are that similar to Bret's, but I think just the tone, he writes in like a clinical, detached tone, and I think that's something that is similar. The first one here is High Rise. So we're following a bunch of people that live in this high-rise luxury apartment complex, and there's some chaos that breaks loose in the apartment, and the people are divided by like the floors that they live on, and they kind of end up attacking each other based on the floors. And it's like the higher up that you are, the more like rich and powerful you are, like the people with dogs and wealth like live on the top floor, etc. And then like the poor people with families like live on the bottom, and it's kind of just, you know, this take on society and class, and I really enjoyed this book. And then the other one that I will recommend is Crash. This is about a man who has a car crash fetish. I think he's in a car crash, and then he comes across this man who has a car crash fetish and kind of shows him his world, and then he also has a car crash fetish. But it's just, it's looking at humans as like machines. It's written in this cold, detached manner that instead of giving these people like human-like qualities, it's almost like he's looking at people as though they are machines, and it's just a lot of commentary about technology and man versus machine. I don't know. I think, like I said, the tone in these you might vibe with. So yeah, those are my recommendations. Like I said, I am going to be reading some more, so I hopefully will have a part 2 to this video if you want one. I've been getting asked literally all the time, like, where do I go from here? What are some other books that you recommend? So start with these, and then hopefully I'll have some more for you. Let me know if you've read any of these in the comments down below, and also let me know if you have any more recommendations that you think I might like that I should check out for a future video. So hopefully you found something to read. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.